it took 7 years after your Ranji Trophy debut for you to come into India reckoning. And you had a couple of really good seasons in the middle. You had, I think, 97, 98, you had a fabulous season. Then again, 99, 98, 99 or 99, 2000, you had a fabulous season.
Yeah.
So how did the India call come up?
So, I realized that it's really tough to play for India if you're playing for Mumbai. And I got a lot of offers to go out and play for another state. Uh, just didn't sit well with me at all. I always wanted to be a Mumbai player. I just had very short conversations with people about those offers. But I realized that uh, there was a uphill climb to play for India because you had Sanjay, Vinod, Sachin from the Mumbai team all playing for India, but somehow or the other, I was batting really well. I was batting uh, at one of the most important positions, number 3. I was also batting, playing most of my games at the Wankhede Stadium, which was a green wicket because we had a strong fast bowling lineup. So we always kept a lot of grass on the pitch, and I think people saw that there were the runs which I scored were all hard-earned runs, which normally put the team on a good footing in those particular games. So I think people saw that, and I thought that I was good enough to play for India. I thought that I'm batting well. I was just hoping that I get my call up when I'm playing well. That's really important, Ashwin. You should get a chance when you're playing well, not when you're not playing well. So I was in rhythm, and I wanted to go from there. Unfortunately, I could just play 4 games for the country. I got injured, but yeah, I think just the entire packaging of playing for Mumbai, batting number 3, scoring useful runs on tougher tracks, scored 100 couple of times in the Ranji Trophy final. So all these pieces add a lot of context to your performances, and the selection committees usually keep these things in mind.
So the India call-up, when it came, who was the one who first informed you that you picked to play for India? Or did you find out through the news?
I was actually told by Mr. Raj Singh Dungarpur that I've got picked. He gave me a call from London, and very soon after that, Miss Lata Mangeshkar also spoke to me because our family and the Mangeshkar family is very close.
Okay.
So she also got to know, and she called me as well. So it was something which I was expecting, something which I was preparing for, and it's just a fantastic feeling, to be able to earn that cap, and especially after you stop playing the game and you're graduating into a different innings of life. It's something which you earned, and nobody can take that away from you ever. So it's a moment which stays with you forever.
So about your first tour, what was it like? Who were the key players then?
My first match for India was against Kenya in Gwalior. I remember it was 48 degrees in the shade and 55 degrees in the sun. It was in May in Gwalior, and I remember we were bowling first, and I remember it was the 17th over. I was fielding at long on, and I just thought I'm going to faint, and it was so hot, and I thought, how funny is this going to be that a guy is making his debut for India and suddenly the captain's looking around and he's like fainted at long on, So I was having a quiet chuckle to myself, but we had a fantastic physio, Andrew Kokinos, and Andrew was doing the rounds on the boundary line, giving water to everybody, and he saw that I was struggling, and he quickly gave me some, some sugar
Fluids.
some fluids, and I was back on my feet again. But that was I started off well in that game. I remember we were chasing. Even in those days, even 7 and over was a big kind of average to chase. So I started off well. I got 28 or 30. I don't remember. But I started off well and tried to. I got out trying to push the pace a little bit. But all in all, it was a good experience. But we unfortunately lost that game. But yeah, there was So yeah, that was the first game.
And you played a very telling knock in 23 runs of 23 balls in your last ODI game. After which you had an ankle injury. How did the injury come about?
I was fielding at square leg actually, and Saeed Anwar flicked Javagal Srinath to me, and I caught the ball, and it had just drizzled a little bit in the morning. So it was slightly kind of slippery, the outfield, and my ankle just kind of rolled over, and it was a bad break actually. I broke the joint and tore all the ligaments as well.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So unfortunately, and I heard them go. There was one huge pop, which the ligaments just kind of tore. We didn't have a great guy on tour from a medical perspective. So I got help only after 4 or 5 days. Till then, it was gone, and I was out of the game for about 8 months. I came back, and as you said, I had a couple of good seasons again for Mumbai. But that earlier misdiagnosis, with the current setup which the Indian team have, they would have had me back on the field in 3 months, basically. But yeah, when stuff is meant to happen, it happens, and you just need to get on with it.
Mm-hmm. So after you last played for India till you retired from first class cricket,
yeah,
how did that phase go? And didn't you ever think of did you ever believe that you had a good chance of coming back into the Indian team?
No, I didn't think that I could get back into the Indian team, and hence I started thinking about other avenues because you already had a very, very settled middle order. You had Rahul, Sachin, Saurav, VBS. So it was a very settled middle order, and at that time, just getting into it was the entire process of getting into the Indian team was very linear. So you had to play for Bombay, then you had to get picked for the Duleep Trophy, or you had to get picked for the Deodhar Trophy, and then you had to get picked for India A, and then you had to get picked for India. But to get into the Duleep Trophy team was a little about there was a lot of rationing in place at that time. Bombay always had 5 or 6 strong players to pick who picked themselves in the Duleep Trophy team. So I found that even though I scored a lot of runs for Mumbai, I was finding it tough to get into the Duleep Trophy team, and which was the real platform to kind of perform at. So I took a calculated decision and said, look, I'd always wanted to work in the business of sport. So I decided that that's something I would try. I'd spent 11 years playing for Mumbai. I played a few matches for India. So no regrets, just wanted to move on and taste something else and build something else in life.
So how did Nike come about?
So I remember reading in the Times of India that on the front page on the right hand side, there was a snippet saying Nike signs deal with BCCI. And I couldn't believe it. I kind of read it again and then said to myself that, hey, this is like really cool. I felt really happy for the BCCI, for the Indian team, that such a big brand like Nike have paid some massive amount of money to be part of the Indian cricket setup, because that's an indication that the Indian team has arrived at a world stage. And I just read that and I left it at that, and just out of some weird circumstance, I got a call from a senior executive and a headhunter at Nike, saying that they would like to talk to me about about the entire program with the BCCI, and how they are looking for a guy of my profile to manage the entire relationship and to manage the program. So in 2006, I think 23rd of November, 23rd of May, if I'm not mistaken, I joined Nike and spent 11 years with them.
Wow. So were you first based in India, or did you go out of India?
No, I was based in Bangalore for 3 years. My first 3 years were in Bangalore. And then I think the Indian, there was the 2011 World Cup, and The deal needed to be extended, so I came back to Bombay. So I spent 2006 to 2012 in India, and then 2012 to late 2015 working at Nike's European headquarters in Amsterdam.
Before we go to Amsterdam, one of the things you did when you're in your stint when you was at Bangalore was signing a gentleman called Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So I was basically competition had got all the big players. Rahul Dravid was with Reebok, Mahi was with Reebok, Sachin was a Natty guy, UV was with Reebok. So I thought that let's just look at the next in line. So started using my coaches network and started watching a lot of under 19 cricket. And it was at a net session at the Kotla where I first saw Virat and thought that yep, this guy looks really good. Seems to have a lot of self assuredness and a lot of self confidence. I think he could go places, and yeah, that was that was how Virat was signed to start off with.
Yeah. And how did the move to Amsterdam happen? Because you moved into a different sport altogether.
Yeah, so I had played a lot of cricket in England, and I lived near Leeds. So I would watch a lot of Leeds United games. But when I came back to India and once I started working in the business of sport, or when I was back in India, I wasn't really following a lot of football. But during the World Cup in India in 2011, there was an entire senior leadership team from Nike which was down. They were mulling over opening of a new position based at EHQ, which was more an integration position. So get all of your cross-functional people from Nike, pretty much like Ash, what you do for Oakley. Get the product guys, get the marketing guys, and link them up on the athlete side and the business side as well. But this was going to be done in football. And they thought that they should look at me as that role. So I think it was a newly created role, sports marketing role, which also involved running point on the CR7 business, football, huge business for Nike in Europe. So it was extremely challenging. Different work culture, different way of doing business, different standard of football agents and player agents to work with, language barriers with the footballers themselves because a lot of them South American, a lot of them Spanish. So lots to learn. But I was at that point in time where I wanted to take on something bizarrely challenging.
Okay.
And when this was offered, I said, yeah, I'll do it, and that's how it came about.
So what is the football system, and then compare the football system to the current cricket system? India has changed ever since you went to. Since you went there, it's changed. So what is the difference in the two systems?
I think
Football.
the BCCI's talent identification program is fantastic. It can be on par with any football talent ID program in the world. Because the sheer amount of coaches who are at the ground level, Ashwin, and the number of matches, if you look at each state association, say Himachal Pradesh State Association has 11 districts under it. Each district has 5 teams for boys/men and girls/women, and each of these teams are playing. They come up through intercollegiate and school tournaments as well. So there's such a lot of cricket happening right at the bottom of the pyramid that there is a machinery around every game, and that machinery includes umpires, coaches, match referees, etc., etc. And these are de facto talent scouts. So I don't think anybody. To answer your question, I think the talent ID structure and system and framework in Indian cricket is as functional or as performing as any sport anywhere in the world. I would even say that, not only football.
And the athlete representation aspect, how is it different from here?
Highly evolved from what it is here. I think agents here tend to be more commercial intermediaries, but there it is a more of a holistic approach to player representation. So So it is not uncommon to have a player being represented by 3 or 4 different groups of agencies. Uh,
Okay.
so, so a footballer normally has one agent for their marketing pieces. Then they have one agent just for transfers. They have a small digital company which is just looking at their social media. They probably have a technology company which is just looking at their fan engagement, a piece of it. And then they have a little bit of an investment company which is just looking at how their entire earnings are invested and then monetized. So they have 5 or 6 teams working behind each player. Whereas here it's getting it's getting more and more evolved as we speak, but still a long way to go.
Is it the player who decides all this, or is it somebody else who governs, somebody oversees all this for the player?
I think you normally, when you sign a player, you also sign the support system along with the player. There's normally a family member or a close friend uh, who is who is the trusted guy whom the players look to when they are recruiting these entire teams. So there's one guy on the inside who's always there, if not more, as the player decides which are the right agencies slash managers to recruit.
Any great memories from all the football you witnessed over there and you worked in the industry?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was operations head for the Brazil World Cup in 2014, and
Oh,
and there was Nike had 392 players at the World Cup and 11 country, 11 federation teams. And I
wow.
remember we moved. Nike have a cobbling unit just for the customized footwear. There's a cobbling unit in a place called Montebelluna in northern Italy. So we moved that cobbling unit to one of Nike's distribution centers in Brazil in a city called Porto Alegre. So we moved that entire cobbling unit there. We moved all the cobbling professionals there. And Nike was launching a new technology at the World Cup, which is now very prevalent across brands, called Flyknit. So Flyknit was launched at the World Cup, and I was mandated to launch the Flyknit. And I remember it had to be launched by Cristiano Ronaldo at the Germany game.
Hmm.
And the night before the game, I was staying, in Brazil. Everything was so crowded because of the World Cup that my hotel was like some beach resort 2.5 hours away. uh, and I got a frantic call from the agent saying, this guy is not going to wear the shoes tomorrow for the game. And I thought, oh my god. uh, so,
Hmm.
I- so I so I went there late at night, and I somehow I knew what the issue was, and I had Ashwin, right? You work in player servicing. I've worked in player servicing. We always have some ace up our sleeve all the time,
Yeah.
to make sure the adoption happens. On
Yeah.
So I had got a couple of pairs of shoes which I knew that he will wear, uh, and those were slightly different to the product at retail, which was a big chance I was taking, but I was taking it so that the athlete feels comfortable. And I convinced him, uh, and he I thought I convinced him, and it didn't work out. I had to pull my plan D out of my backpack, and I
Which
showed,
was?
which was a shoe. The footwear was like a sock basically. You had to wear it like a sock,
Hmm.
and the ankle, there was a cuff on the ankle, and I knew that if I reduced that cuff, he would be by a centimeter or two, he would be happy. Uh, but that was not what the boot was at retail. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so anyway, we went ahead with that, and yeah. So that's one story which I thought was unforgettable, because it was just drama
Uh-huh.
hours before a big game at the World
Yeah.
Cup, when the entire world is looking at the launch of this new technology.
So you
But
just cut the cuff, is it?
no, I'd already got something with a shorter cuff made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Foresight.
yes.
Lovely.
So I think a lot of the cobbling professionals and my teammates, very dear friends of mine, even today, uh, I think they had been through many of these wars. So they would identify the potholes in front of me. So sometimes,
That's great. Great.
yeah,
That's your support structure that you had.
correct, correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct.
So what prompted the move out of Nike back to India?
Yeah, and I was bitten by this bug of doing something tech led in India. I thought that there's a huge potential. I mean, I think that there's a huge potential for an integrated sports business led by technology. So, integrated sports platform in India. And that's what Kilomore.com is. When I was in Amsterdam, I had a couple of friends who worked for Booking.com. And Booking.com's global headquarters are in Amsterdam, and I could see what they're doing with aggregation. And I just thought that if we could aggregate all of the supply of sport in India, coaches, academies, physios, trainers, football turf, sports venues, a little bit of ticketing, e-commerce, if we could aggregate all of that on one platform and take this entire feature filled platform to the consumers, there will be a lot of value to be driven through that. So started working on that. I had a couple of friends, investors who backed me, and we started, and we've been alive for 3 years now. This is obviously a very tough time to do business because all the venues are shut. But essentially, this is what brought me back to India. I just thought that let me use my learning for building something truly path breaking in India. So that's the long and short of it.
So you're doing it in Mumbai alone, or is it a pan-India effort?
No,
You're
so
starting with.
so it's like it's a platform which has, so if you open the app, it will read where you are, with geolocation, and then it will show you the venues and coaches and academies within a 2 to 5 kilometer radius, and you can set it on the app, and you can then book venues, or you can book coaching, and pay for that coaching through the app. And as soon as you pay for a slot at a football turf, the venue manager gets a notification, so that gets blocked at the venue manager's booking backend as well. And so this is the supply kind of tree which we've built now, but we are going to be widening that entire supply tree. So, for example, tomorrow, if I want my son to join a cricket academy, as soon as I do the booking there, I can then also buy equipment in the same place. I can also buy a week's snacks for him at the academy through the booking flow. So we are adding a lot of value-added services to the entire piece, to serve a consumer who's being underserved for sports needs, but is being served very well through the Swiggies and the Make My Trips of this world. But when it comes to sport, he still has to call up the coach or go to the coach, and try and get an entry, or go to a turf, or call up a venue manager at a turf saying, "Boss, kal 5 to 6 ka slot rakh de." I don't think this sports consumer is being served well. So our endeavor is to treat that sports consumer with respect, and serve them properly, like how they're being served in other areas of their need.
And this covers how many sports?
Uh, so,
Or
so we have today we have cricket coaches on our platform, football, tennis, badminton, archery, athletics, basketball, you name it. I think
wow.
about 12 to 15 sports. We also have kabaddi coaches on our platform, kho coaches on our platform. Now we've taken a lot of this coaching online. We're doing ballet classes online. We're doing contemporary dance online. We are teaching people how to play bridge online. There's a huge chess business which we are building online as well. So in COVID times, we've essentially taken 300-400 of these coaches online, because that's the constraint within which the consumers are operating, and we still want to ensure that they have value through sport, and that's what we're trying to do.
The beauty is, even post-COVID, that online business can run as a separate vertical.
exactly.
So
And
technically, you've leveraged COVID. I mean, not to put it negatively, you've
yeah,
positively leveraged COVID for your
yes,
business
yes,
to grow it.
yes.
Great. And
And that's when
sorry, sorry.
we've added thousands of consumers during COVID times.
Mhm.
So it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic. We've hats off to the team. We've really put our nose to the grindstone and worked the last 4 months.
Becoming a national selector, how did that happen? And what's the experience like?
So I was asked to interview for this post, and it's been a fantastic experience. I thought I was well qualified for it because essentially I was doing that for Nike for about 6 to 7 years in India, and I absolutely love watching cricket, and I think that's one basic prerequisite for a selector. So it's been fantastic. It's a highly complex job, Ashwin. It's a very difficult job. It's certainly one of the toughest things I've done in my life because uh, you know you're playing an integration role between several stakeholders. One is the team management, second is the NCA, third is the BCCI, fourth is your own group of co-selectors, and you're trying to understand what's the right mosaic to build for Indian cricket going forward, and what are the one or two smaller missing pieces in the mosaic, and which are the one or two players you need to look at for us to get better. All of this you need to do, keeping an eye on the next 30 days, the next 90 days, the next 120 days, on what competition do we have lined up, what opposition do we have lined up, which format is that in. So it's incredibly intricate, the entire planning, but highly satisfying.
Of the three formats, which one would you say India is best at? Given that India is good at all three, but which is India best at?
That's a good question. I think we are I think we are an incredibly dangerous T20 side. Uh, but I think we are probably as good a test team as a T20 team. Essentially, I feel that out of the three formats, one challenge for us is the ODI format, because I'll tell you why. Uh, uh, the basic issue which we have is that our batsmen don't bowl and our bowlers don't bat. So you're struggling with finding your sixth or seventh bowler. Let me take you back to the 2011 World Cup. If you looked at that 11, the general 11 which played, you had Sachin who bowled, you had Viru who bowled, you had UV who bowled, you had Raina who bowled, in addition to all your regular bowlers. So there were so many options for the captain to go to. But sadly, and that's just how the evolution cycle works, right? Sadly, that's an area of challenge for us, and hence, to answer your question, I think we're an incredibly dangerous T20 team and a test team which can beat anybody, anywhere, if we have our best 11 fit out there.
Would you say India has had the strongest bowling lineup now? Has the strongest bowling lineup now ever?
With, without a doubt, without a doubt, without a doubt.
So now coming back to what you talked about in terms of Mumbai cricket, you talked about a number. You had mentioned to me once that there are a number of talented cricketers because the structure is such that so many people occupy places like Sachin, Dravid,
Sure,
Lakshman, Ganguly occupied places which
sure,
prevented other people from coming up because they were performing. Similarly, you guys occupied a place that prevented a whole bunch of club cricketers who were
sure,
talented to come. So
absolutely.
you talked about those guys. I don't know. Tell
So,
me more about them.
sure. I am a complete Mumbai cricket romantic at heart, and I've been wanting to. One of my to dos during COVID has been that I've always been inspired uh, by club cricketers who turn out week after week, week after week, week after week. They're probably pushing a pen behind a desk at a bank during the week, but they come out week after week, month after month, year after year, and perform at a club level, knowing fully well that they have no chance whatsoever in playing for Mumbai or in playing for India. And I feel these are the real heroes of Mumbai cricket. It has been my good fortune to play with quite a few of these individuals, and I have known them to be very, very competitive, talented. Always on the high edge of performance. Very smart, very street smart from a cricketing perspective, and I just thought that it will be in today's uh, age of digital consumption. I just thought that these would be interesting stories, because somewhere I feel that these stories would resonate not only with guys like you and me, but with the wider, populace, which probably follows, say, a Harsha Bhogle on Twitter, or say follows a Sanjay Manjrekar or a Sachin Tendulkar or a Virendra Sehwag. So just a small attempt from my side to shine a light on some of these very mercurial characters from Mumbai cricket.
That's a great thought. And before we finish this interview, who would you rate as the toughest bowler you have ever played?
Uh, uh, I think Srinath was right up there. If you ask me, he bowled quick. He had a he sometimes came in round the wicket and troubled left-handers there. Srinath definitely. We also played on a lot of turning tracks in the Ranji Trophy when we were playing away, uh, and like a couple of Narendra Hirwani always troubled me. He got me out most of the time. Uh, and from an international perspective, like I mentioned, the India A tour to Pakistan, there were a couple of guys who never played for Pakistan. There was a guy called Sajid Shah, who was a fantastic bowler. Then there was a left-arm seamer called Kabir Khan, who again was superb. I played a lot of Akib Javed on that tour as well. I've played Wakar and these guys as well. But from a domestic perspective, I thought Srinath was right up there.
And what does the future hold in store for Jatin Paranjape?
Devoting myself to Kilomore. The idea is to, and it might sound outlandish, but it's a figure which is in my head. The idea is over the next 4, 5, 10 years to be able to have maybe 20,000 coaches on the Kilomore platform across India, across sport, and to make a difference in terms of monetization to 10,000 from the supply side. So it could be a coach, academy, sports venue, e-commerce retailer, small retailer, physio trainer. I want to positively impact incomes of 10,000 sports suppliers through Kilomore.com.
Great. Fabulous, Jatin. Thanks so much for your time, and may you Kelo more and more and more.
Thank you,
Thanks so much. It's been a sheer pleasure.
Sure. Cool.
Right.
Sounds good, man. Take care.